so long it's like alchemy.
All right. What's good, y'all? I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. This was by request. So the most asked question I've got in the last month is, are the Warriors going to make a trade? And if so, who do you think they're going to go after? And initially I was kind of just brushing off the question because I just really didn't see them making a move. But as we've progressed here into the trade deadline and nearing the All-Star break, you know, the bench has just got worse and worse, right? Nick Young not giving us really anything of what we thought we would get. Patrick McCall really regressing from a promising rookie season. Jordan Bell goes down, and Omri Caspi apparently forgot how to shoot three-pointers, right? So the bench production has become a story for the champs, and now I'm starting to wonder if we might make a move. So before I get into this, I want to premise this by saying that I'm not saying I would make these trades, and I'm not saying that they're going to happen. I also want to say that draft picks could also be involved, right? So there could be future first round, future second round picks involved in this. But these are, I hopped on the trade machine. So let's go ahead and do that right now. And I wanted to keep it as realistic as possible. I don't like doing hypothetical things. I mean, I like giving opinions, right? I'm an opinion guy. I don't like doing the hypotheticals, but it's something that needs to be addressed, and it's fun. It's fun, so I'm gonna have some fun with it. So I encourage you guys, leave your trades in the comments, or, you know, yay, nay, some of these deals, adjust them, have some fun in the trade machine, because I hopped on here, and I don't, like I said, I don't usually do this. I wait for the, like, it to be breaking on Twitter, and then I'm like, oh my God, like this might happen. Then I start doing it. I don't like it when it's just rumored. But I spent a lot more time on the trade machine than I thought I would. So let's get into the first trade. Now, the only name that's been linked to Golden State thus far has been New York Knicks Kyle O'Quinn. He's like an undersized 4'5" banger, and you know he's aggressive. He's decent defensively. He's not a three-point shooter. I don't know. I haven't checked his stats on that. He may launch one here and there from the corner, but that's not what you're acquiring him for. So he is the only guy. So let's start there. Let's start in New York. And looking at their roster, a guy that you would really have interest in is Courtney Lee, right? He's shooting 42% from the three-point line. But then they went and paid him, you know, damn near $12 million a year. So that kind of cancels that out, right? So Kyle O'Quinn is here. I'm looking at the roster, and you're going to see some similarities in most of these deals because there's only a few moving parts on this roster that could possibly be traded, meaning Golden State. Excuse me. So you're looking at Kyle O'Quinn, and I'm looking at Doug McBuckets. And he had a disappointing, where did he start? He started in Chicago, right? He couldn't stay healthy. Apparently Jimmy Butler didn't like him, but does Jimmy Butler like anybody? Went to OKC. Didn't get the ball from you know who, right? But I'm not willing to get. I think I don't know. He's a three-point shooter, right? He's a spread the floor guy. Defensively, obviously, he gets eaten up stereotypically. And the move I would make is I'm looking down the roster, right? You said there's only a few moving parts for this Warriors team that could possibly be moved. It's Shaun Livingston is one of those guys, right? And so why I say this here. So from Golden State's perspective, they like Kyle O'Quinn as a versatile defender, a rebounder, just another bully ball type of guy, someone you'd like to have in your corner right in the playoffs. And he's on a good contract. So they like Kyle O'Quinn. McDermott would be another possible three-point shooter in our system. If he could just spot up in the corner, he's going to knock that down. I know he's limited as far as other areas of the game, but he's going to knock down open threes, something that Caspi and Nick Young just haven't been doing. Right? So from New York's perspective, Shaun Livingston would be the perfect stopgap for their young rookie point guard, right? The Frenchmen, they have similar builds, defensive-minded guys. I know Jarrett Jack's there now on a one-year deal, but this kid's not going to be ready next season to go to play 35 minutes and head the team. So Shaun Livingston, he comes from a winning pedigree, championship mentality. He's a pro's pro, and he's the perfect veteran to pair with your young point guard. So that would be the selling point to the Knicks. The ESPN machine says, yeah, go ahead and do that, Alk. Go ahead and do that shit. All right. So that's my first one. Second trade, We're going to go to a former Warrior. Where is that going to be? Where is that going to be? Now, those of you OG fans, man, you remember this guy from Summer League, his first Summer League? We were ready to praise him as the savior. And we were ready to praise everybody as the savior, right? It was a few years, Randolph. And, it was every year. The Summer League was really the highlight of the season. Correct me if I'm wrong. You know what I'm talking about. Now, it's not Ken Bazemore. Ken Bazemore is not the man. It's Marco Belinelli. Okay? So you see his deal here is $6 million. His three-point shooting is down, but if you guys remember him, those of you who remember him, or I don't think anybody watches Atlanta, but he has moxie. So he's a little bit better of a defender than you think. Like, he takes pride in his defense. He's smart. And again, he's a three-point shooter. So how do you acquire them from Atlanta? Is bad by design. They're looking towards the future. So Nick Young's got to be in the deal for the money. Okay? Now it's kind of up to Atlanta. Out of our young prospect players, who do you like best? I'm guessing they would like Patrick McCaw. I know he's struggled, but is it Budhausen? But you know that Bud, the coach there, San Antonio system, right? You know what they value. You see how much they paid Kent Bazemore. So McCaw kind of fits that mold of a player. A new scenery could help him. I'm not giving up on PMAC. I think he's in a tough situation, and he's really feeling the pressure. The ball's heavy in his hands right now. So that would be, so you look at it from our perspective. You immediately get a guy, confident veteran, who's familiar with the Bay Area, and high IQ guy that can score off the bench. Nothing big. It's not a huge move, but it could bolster the scoring and fix somewhat of the problem. Atlanta gets a prospect in Patrick McCaw. What does ESPN say? No, they like it too. You think I really went through these trades and came up with a red, not successful deal? I mean, come on, man. Anyway, I don't want to make this too long. All right. The next deal. We are going to go, and usually when my thought process during this was I was looking up three-point shooters. No one wants to give those guys up. And then you start looking at the bottom-feeding teams, the teams that are not in it to win it, and you start like trying to scan over their rosters, right, and see who you could pick off. And I winded up where I'm at geographically in Phoenix. Did y'all see that dude's injury last night, Isaiah Cannon? I have we may have to start training guys on how to land. Why are guys tucking their legs back when they're getting hit? I know it's a dynamic thing where you're not ready necessarily for the collision, but prayers go out to Isaiah Cannon, man. He medical science is amazing these days. So, looking down their roster, obviously they're not going to be in win mode now, and they always say the right things. Oh, we're not that far away, but anyway. Looking at the roster, you've got Troy Daniels, and he's been somewhat of a journeyman, right? Was he in Houston? Remember that Houston playoff series where he just went off? Is that the right? That's the dude I'm thinking about, right? He's a top 15 three-point shooter, and I could have sworn he was in Memphis. Now you got your boy rambling. Either way, he's a three-point shooter. He's scoring. He's playing enough minutes where he's in shape, like he's in an NBA rotation, and he's a pure shooter. From what I remember, if it's the same guy I'm thinking of, right? Remember in Houston a couple years ago, the playoffs, he went off, right? Anyway, so Troy Daniels, how are you going to make this happen? Once again, I'm looking at Patrick McCaw, okay? But maybe, again, I think Golden State is willing to listen if they want Kevon Looney or if they perhaps want Damian Jones. We've talked about this before. Jordan Bell, they've got plans for Jordan Bell. Jordan Bell, I think, would only be involved in a trade if it was netting a star player in return. So you could take your pick. Patrick McCaw, Kevon Looney, Damian Jones. Damian Jones is the great unknown. Why is he still in the G League with Jordan Bell off the active roster? What are they hiding? I don't understand that. That's a story for another day. I'm going to go ahead and assume Patrick McCaw. You look at Devin Booker, and he is going to be one of the best scorers in the league if he isn't already. But you can see the mindset. You have to pair him around defensive-minded players. That's why they drafted Josh Jackson, and that's why Patrick McCaw may fit in that backcourt somewhere. So Patrick McCaw, and then you could ask yourself again, let's throw JaVale McGee in there. You could say Omri Caspi. These deals, I don't know how they work out the extra parts. You know what I mean? They're really matching salaries. And so, You look at it from Phoenix perspective, they're gaining a prospect, and Golden State's getting a 3-point shooter. They're taking away from it. Again, these are small moves. What do you expect? Did you expect me to be like, well, we're going to trade Draymond Green, for Aaron Gordon? That shit ain't happening. So I'm trying to keep it a buck with these hypotheticals. But hold on. There's a twist. If you want to get really bold, we could switch things up here. And we could add Jared Dudley to the mix. And yeah, Jared Dudley's still in the league. Did you see him? He ethered the shit out of somebody on Twitter. Someone was like, Jared Dudley's still in the league? He was like, yup, at $10 million a year, bruh. What you doing? I was like, okay, bet. But Jared Dudley, the thing with Jared Dudley is don't let the physique fool you. He is a very warrior-like player because he's high IQ and he shoots threes. And obviously you don't leave him on an island defensively, but he's going to understand and pick up the switching and the scheming and the talking very quickly defensively for Golden State. So that would be a player I think that would play right away and fit. But you take a look at it, 2 years, $10 million. I don't know what Phoenix was doing. I guess that was the vet. That was supposed to be their vet. He has a rapport with that franchise. This is his second go around there, right? But how does that change things as the deal goes for Golden State? Now, you're throwing over Andre Iguodala. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not even saying I'd do it. We know how important Ig is to the locker room, but you also, if you've seen my prior videos and we've monitored his season this year, he showed signs of life in the last 2 weeks. And I'll sell it to you from Phoenix perspective. They're getting a guy, and again, it's a locker room culture thing. I know it's cliche, but let's be honest. They need dudes that you're bringing in a championship guy. He's immediately going to have the locker room. And you've got an impressionable Devin Booker and Josh Jackson in there. And that's just a perfect guy to kind of lead them and transition them into not being rooks or young guys. So, and then what are they really giving up? Phoenix it's not really costing them anything. It's not costing them any of their future. Right? It's an extra year in the Iguodala deal, but they just bought out Greg Monroe. So that extra year, how big of a deal is it when you can't attract free agents anyway? Right? Anyway. And then obviously Golden State, you are giving up. It's more of a risk for the Warriors, right? But Jared Dudley, I feel like he could contribute. Daniels, you're adding a bunch of 3-point shooting is what you're doing. Okay. I don't know. I ain't trying to get too crazy with it. Let's start over. I got one last one for you. I don't know what the time is on this, man. Hopefully I'm not running too long. I know time is precious. It is. Time is money. This is my most elaborate trade. I saved it for last. The juiciest trade. Lakers, and it's a 3-teamer. It's a 3-teamer. The team that just stuck their foot in our ass last week. Or it wasn't even last week. It was like 2 nights ago, right? I just want to put it behind me. I want to put it in the past. Anyway. Okay. We all know the Lakers and what their strategy is. They found out pretty quick this season. We ain't doing shit this year, right? So for whatever reason they want to move on from Julius Randle, I still don't understand that. I think maybe they think that they'll have to pay him too much, and I understand that perspective. Like Julius Randle is one of those players where right now he's a great value, but when you pay him $15-20 million a year, all of a sudden his warts are just you can't live with him. So maybe that's the reason. Julius Randle's on the block. Jordan Clarkson, they've like mutually said, yeah, let's trade. Like, I want out and we want to trade you, right? So Jordan Clarkson is going to the Golden State Warriors. Now, the Lakers, they don't want any contract back. This is a contract dump because Clarkson is a nice third guard for them, right? So once again, the one bigger contract that Golden State can trade is Andre Iguodala. But he ain't going to Los Angeles, right? They don't want to take that 3-year deal. He's going to the Utah Jazz. Who's going to Los Angeles? They're dumping salary. It's that man ISO Joe. I'll break it down for you from each team's perspective. Let's go Golden State first of all. Clarkson's only shooting like 32% from 3, but I don't think that fully tells the story. If you watch the Laker games, he's been really good. And he does force some bad shots. I think he's closer to a 37% 3-point shooter, but he takes bad shots because Luke Walton's letting them do whatever the hell they want, man. I appreciate Luke for what he did for the Warriors, and I'm not putting it solely on him, but I think he needs a little more structure with what they do there. Clarkson's letting him fly, so his efficiency isn't that great. But he has a swagger and a confidence about him. And most importantly, he can create his own shot. So that would go a long way with this struggling Warriors second unit. Los Angeles brings in Joe Johnson. They dump salaries. Now, a draft pick would probably be involved in this. Maybe, it could be a 2023 second round. I don't know what it is. Los Angeles probably gets some draft picks, and ISO Joe, who Utah fans, you can speak on this, right? Father Time has finally caught up with ISO. Maybe he's saving himself for the playoffs. I don't know if y'all make it, but it looks like ISO's ready to sit at the end of the bench and tutor and mentor or whatever and just be a role model, which works fine for Ingram and some of these forward scorers. Kuzma, right? You telling me Joe Johnson couldn't show him a few things, little tricks of the trade? So they clear the cap space and get some draft picks. Utah, this would be the hardest sell of the trade, right? Because they're adding to their cap, this big contract from Iguodala. But Iguodala is a Utah Jazz type of player. Quinn Snyder type of guy, right? He's a perfect locker room, defensive minded, and I'll sell it to you like this. Utah ain't getting no free agents, man. They have to internally develop, right? And that's why Donovan Mitchell was such a huge draft pick for them, right? But you don't think Donovan, and I'm selling you the same point. You don't think having Andre Iguodala's locker right next to Donovan Mitchell wouldn't increase his skill and knowledge of the game? So, Utah, and then what are you giving up? You're giving up Joe Johnson and you're giving up some cap space, but you're probably getting more in return on the floor. And then just building that culture because they're in between right now. It may help to give them a push towards the playoffs. I don't know. But let's click on it and see. Of course it works. But those are my hypothetical trades. Y'all hit me back. Let me know what you think or what you have whipped up. By the time this video's out, probably half these dudes have been traded to other places. That's how it works. That's why I didn't bring up, I didn't get a montage of highlights. I wanted to just get the content out and my thoughts out rather than do that because it's such a time-sensitive subject. But I hope y'all like this. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.